And so now for the third question, what makes you laugh? Monks don't laugh that much. Well, we try not to. Um, One of the things that I find really funny, uh, things I do find ordinary things funny, but something that I find funny, which I think people who haven't followed the path that I follow probably wouldn't find funny, is people's um, set way of thinking. So, like when I say that monks don't laugh, for most people that's almost offensive. It's a real turnoff because our way of thinking is that if you want to be a proper person, is someone who enjoys laughter. And it's really true. Monks don't laugh that much. The Buddha himself is said to never have laughed. His way of dealing with a humorous situation would be to smile, because his mind was so subtle, so refined, that all that would arise is a smile. And I think this is somewhat worth emulating from my point of view. But I know the point is that a lot of people find that repulsive. And as with a lot of things, it's interesting to find, you know, people who see me go on alms round, they think you can't do that. It just somehow offends their sensibilities, or it seems impossible. The idea of going without food for some people is totally inconceivable. The idea of wearing robes. When I went to visit my mother, she lives in New York, and it was February. It was the worst weather they'd had in 20, 30 years or something like that. And when I touched down in the airport, it was like -20. Actually, I don't know. I'm from Canada. It was incredibly cold, like 20 below zero where I'm from Canada, whatever that, 20 degrees Celsius below freezing. Oh right, this isn't American anyway. Anyway. Um, so before I showed up, I said, I'm coming, and I'm just going to, I'm going to come to visit you. And she said, okay, well, I'll prepare a room for you. And I said, well, I don't think it's proper. I'm a monk now. Probably better not. Better for me not to stay in your house. And she said, well, then where are you going to stay? I said, well, I've got this tent, and I was thinking of staying in your backyard. Oh, and she got so upset. She said, you can't do that. You can't. You can't. You can't. Over and over again. And I said, no, Mom, listen. You can't. I can. And I did. And it was it was fun. I had to use like 3, 4 sleeping bags um, just to sleep at night. But I wore these robes, and I wore the robes around, and I've worn them in Canada. I've worn them all over. Things like people's idea of sickness, how sickness is such a terrible thing, and it's such an awful experience. It's a real drag on life. Um, and just my own take on sickness, or a Buddhist take on sickness, is that actually it's kind of an interesting experience. And I've often said, probably probably not the it's something that people can't relate to. This idea that sickness might be an interesting experience. And I'm not saying this totally unexperienced. I've been in India, and every time you go to India, you get sick, very sick. You can even die from the bacteria there. And so I've been in dire straits, and I found that it was by using it as a meditation object, it can be really enlightening. It can teach you things about yourself that you didn't know, teach you things about the body and about the mind. So I think people's fixed ideas about who you have to be and what you have to do. I mean, simply the idea of becoming a monk is ludicrous, is absurd to people. This isn't how you live your life. You're irresponsible. You're a bum, and so on and so on. I think that's humorous. I think it's funny to try to challenge these things, And so I, I would often make statements that challenge people's ideas. Thai people are especially funny, or Asian people in general, for this because um, they're really nice people, but oftentimes people grow up in a society with a religious culture, and they don't really know much about the religion. So Thai people think they're all Buddhist, and oftentimes their practice is totally against the Buddhist teaching. And if you just try to explain it to them, they don't listen. They think, oh no, what do you know, right? I mean, obviously I'm white. What do I know about Buddhism? Um, and so challenging, the best way to do is to just shock them out of it. They'll say things like, you can't do that, that's not proper, and I say, well, watch me, I'm going to do it. And showing them that it's possible. Not touching money. I haven't touched money for, I don't know how many years, 6, 7 years. And people will tell me even today that I can't do it, that it's not possible, and I think I'm living proof that it's possible. I don't touch money. I don't use money. I don't keep food. I don't, um, you know, and there was one time. Another good example. There was a problem with where I was going to stay, and there was a lot of argument about where I was going to stay that night. I had flown back from Minnesota after teaching there, touched down in Los Angeles, and on my way back, I found out that that I wasn't going to be able to stay at this house where I thought I was going to stay, and so I had to go and stay. Or nobody really said where I was going to stay, but I think they just assumed I was going to go to one of my students' house and stay with him and his mother. And this is the reason why I didn't go and stay with my mother, is because a monk can't generally stay in the same building as the same residence unit as a woman. And so they just assumed that I was going to stay there. When we got to their house, I just walked off. It was about midnight, and we got to the driveway. I just said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow, and I just walked off down the street. And this whole group of people just freaked out, and they're driving their cars around trying to find me. I didn't know, I didn't realize it until the next morning that there was like a manhunt out for me. And I just went to a park and lay down under a bench on the cement in North Hollywood, and slept under this picnic bench on the cement. Just put my robes, just flattened my robes out on the cement, kind of bunched them up so the cement wasn't that hard, and kind of sat some, lay some, and just spent what I believe to be one of the best nights of my life. And I think this is unfathomable for many people, that this could somehow be. Why it was one of the best nights of my life is because suddenly I was free from all of this argument and difficulty. Suddenly I was free. I was me, just me and my robes, and my bowl. And I had put my bowl under the picnic bench, and I just got crawled underneath, and just sat there all night. Sat and sometimes lay down. I did sleep, actually. When you're tired enough, you'll sleep on anything. This is something that makes me laugh, is challenging people's perceptions and opening their minds. And even just walking down the street is a real eye-opener. I'm told that as I said before, I'm told that when I walk down the streets in downtown, people just go like this, their heads just turn. I find that sort of thing funny. Funny in a good way, opening people's minds up, letting them see something new. And that's, again, one of the real reasons why I'm involved in this project at all, because I think showing people alternative ways of life to their own is a real eye-opener. It's something that can help the world, something that can be great for humankind, and hopefully will have a real impact, help us to see that we are one, and that we have to work together, or else we're going to go down the toilet together. Okay, so that's all for this question. Thanks.